Y'all want to sign too, Grimy? Look at these two dudes, Louis and Nipsey Hussle. On the block.
Big U's son has been taken out.
It started with a grainy Instagram live. Less than a minute, no filter, no setup, no script. Just 3 real ones on the Crenshaw block, posted up like it was still 2009. You got Eugene Big U Henley. You got Hermias Nipsey Hussle Ashton. And you got Jabari Baby Huey Henley. Posters, chill, smiling. Big U holding the phone, looking proud, doing what every OG does when he thinks his team is on the rise. You can hear him saying it with that signature half smirk. Y'all want to sign too, Grammy? Look at these 2 dudes. You and Nipsey Hussle on the block. No music, no edits. Just 3 men caught in a moment before everything turned to hell. What should have been a beautiful throwback turned into a trigger. Not the nostalgic kind, the kind that starts wars. Because that footage didn't just show history, it resurfaced pain, lies, and the one connection the streets never fully forgave. Big U and Nipsey Hussle. And this time it wasn't just talk. Within 48 hours of that video going viral, the city of LA was bleeding again. Jabari Henley, Big U's son, was dead, gunned down on Halloween night. And Nipsey's affiliates, they weren't crying. They were posting clips, posting the old footage, posting fire emojis, saying things like, "Karma never misses." He thought he was safe. One down. Now where the OG at? But here's the thing. This wasn't random. This was a setup not by the shooters, but by the streets themselves. A public judgment passed not in court, but on camera. Because once that footage dropped, every unsolved feeling came flooding back. And Nipsey's people, they wanted payback. The meaning behind the moment. To the untrained eye, that footage was harmless. Just a proud father. Just 2 young soldiers. Just a moment of unity. But to the streets of South LA, that video said way more than words ever could. That video reminded people of what was lost. It showed what could have been if jealousy hadn't crept in, if egos hadn't exploded, if Nipsey hadn't been gunned down outside the Marathon store on March 31st, 2019. Because in that 58-second clip, you saw what the future of Crenshaw was supposed to look like. A visionary, a mentor, a young heir. And now, 2 of the 3 are dead. And the 3rd, locked in a federal prison cell, watching everything he built fall apart, 1 bullet, 1 leak, 1 conspiracy at a time. Why the streets exploded. Here's what made the video hit different. The timing. Late October 2025, right as Big U was already under pressure, drowning in RICO charges, cut off from his old political plugs, and facing life behind bars for charges that ranged from extortion to murder for hire. And suddenly, here comes this raw clip, unedited, unapologetic, unplanned. Just Big U reminding the world that he was once the architect, the boss behind the blueprint. Except nobody's feeling nostalgic. They feeling vengeful. Because that clip doesn't just bring back memories. It reopens a wound that never fully healed. The idea that Big U wasn't just part of Nipsey's rise. He might have been part of his fall. And right now, nobody's trying to hear Big U's side. When the streets don't forget, by the time the video hit 100,000 views, the whispers were already loud. That ain't no tribute. That's a flex. Do you think we forgot what happened to Nip? Posting this right before Halloween? Nah, they wanted attention. And then came the real explosion. October 31st, 2025. Just a few blocks away from where that footage was taken years ago. Big U's son, Baby Huey, got hit. 7 shots. Chest, arm, stomach, on the concrete outside a smoke shop on Fig and 69th. Dead. And 90 minutes later, the old clip was back on Instagram stories, but this time with a twist. Red circles, slow zoom-ins, captions like, 2 are gone, only 1 left. This wasn't a tragedy anymore. This was a countdown, the final irony. Big U once built his legacy protecting his people. Rolling 60s, the set, the squad, his artists, his family. And in that video, he's smiling like a proud coach. Like he's already won. Like the future is secure. But now, Nipsey's gone, Baby Huey's gone, and Big U's trapped powerless in a cell while the city that once feared him now mocks him. And the only piece of footage left showing all 3 together. It's being used by the same people who want him gone forever. Because when that clip dropped, it didn't just go viral. It lit the match, and the fire is still burning before the blood on the pavement, before the indictments, before the conspiracies. There was a vision. 3 names, 1 corner, and a dream for what South Central LA could become. Big U Nipsey Hussle, Jabari Henley. That grainy Instagram live didn't come out of nowhere. It came from a time when those three names meant hope, power, and progress. It was a snapshot from the early 2010s before the smoke and the sirens, when it felt like something real was being built in the city, something strong, and all of it gone. Now all that's left are tombstones, trial dates, and hashtags nobody wants on their name. But to understand what this all means, to understand why Nipsey's people leaked that footage, why the streets are saying Baby U was just collateral, you gotta go back to when it all began. Nipsey, the architect of the marathon, Nipsey Hussle wasn't just a rapper. He was a code. Born Hermes Joseph Asjubin, raised in the heart of the rolling 60s, half Eritrean, half black, all hustle. He was from the dirt, but he looked past the block. Where most saw gang ties, Nipsey saw ownership. Where most saw clout, Nipsey saw equity. He wasn't trying to escape the hood, he was trying to build in it. By 2018, Nip had already turned his corner of Crenshaw into a hub, bought the entire shopping plaza that housed the marathon clothing, launched Vector 90, a STEM and tech space for youth, invested in real estate, taught young homies how to structure LLCs, but behind every smart move was a hard lesson. And one of those lessons, Big U, the gatekeeper. Before he was public enemy, before the indictments, before the conspiracies, Eugene Big U Henley was the plug, the connector, the gatekeeper. This self-proclaimed reformed OG with one foot in the street and the other in boardroom. In 2004, Big U came home from doing a 13-year bid for attempted murder. He re-entered LA like a boss. By 2005, he founded the Community Intervention Alliance, a nonprofit on paper, but to many just another power move. He positioned himself as the peace broker, the man who could walk into any set blood Crip Peru and get handshakes instead of headshots. Even the LAPD worked with him at one point, but that was only part of the picture. Because behind the peace talks and red carpets, people whispered something different. That Big U was using nonprofits to funnel street tax, that he was still active, that his help came with strings attached, and if you didn't play ball, you got benched permanently. Still, when Nipsey was coming up, Big U was the only man who could get him in the door without asking a major label for permission. And Nipsey, he signed the deal that changed everything. In 2009, Nipsey inked a 10-year management deal with Big U's Unique Music Group. That deal gave Big U serious pull over Nip's business decisions, merch, shows, publishing, everything. But back then, Nipsey was hungry. He needed a lifeline, and Big U gave it to him. But here's where the story starts to turn. As Nipsey grew, so did his awareness. He saw how the music industry worked. He learned how to distribute his own projects. He built All Money In, his own label. He studied Jay-Z. He studied strategy. He realized he didn't need a middleman anymore. By 2017, Nipsey had evolved from a street rapper into a mogul in training, and Big U, he wasn't ready to let go. The fallout when loyalty becomes a liability. Around 2018, whispers started flying that Nipsey wasn't planning to renew the management contract, that he was pulling back, that he wanted 100% control over All Money In. To the average exec, that's business. To Big U, that was war. See, in Big U's world, you don't walk away. You don't take the blueprint and cut out the man who drew it. Loyalty wasn't optional, it was enforced. And that's when the split happened. No press release, no public beef, just tension. Nipsey recorded a track never released publicly where he reportedly threw subliminal shots at Big U. Street dudes heard it, word got back, and from that moment on, the love was over. And so was the trust. Baby U caught in the crossfire of legacies. Now here's where it gets personal. Jabari Baby Huey Henley was nothing like his father. No power-hungry plays, no industry politics, no street campaigns. Just a regular dude with a job, a daughter, and a love for low-key music. Yeah, he rapped a little, dropped a couple songs, got some Spotify streams, but he wasn't trying to be Nipsey. He wasn't trying to be Big U. He just wanted to exist. But in LA, that ain't always possible. Because in LA, your name follows you. And when you're Big U's son, that name can feel like a target on your back. Baby Huey didn't ask for the smoke, but when that old footage dropped and the streets remembered the pain tied to Big U's name, Huey became the symbol. Not because he disrespected anyone, not because he did anything wrong, but because of who his father was and who Nipsey used to be. Why the streets took it personal, the reaction wasn't random. It wasn't even about Jabari, if we're being real. It was about what that footage represented. It showed three men on a corner, once united, now broken. Two of them gone. One of them blamed. And it reminded the streets of everything Nipsey could have built if the business hadn't gotten dirty. That footage felt like salt in the wound, like Big U trying to reclaim the narrative. But the streets weren't having it. They said, "You ain't reclaiming nothing. You ain't rebuilding off pain. You had your chance. We buried ours. Now you bury yours. The dream dies loud. South Central doesn't hand out second chances. And in a city where images matter more than press releases, that 58-second video became a death sentence. Not because it caused the hit, but because it unlocked the reason people still wanted revenge. You see, the LA dream they had, it died when Nipsey did. And Baby U, he just got caught in the ruins. October 31st, 2025, Halloween in Los Angeles. Kids in costumes, music in the streets, people just trying to enjoy the night. But for Jabari Baby Huey Henley, that was his last night alive. And what happened outside that small corner smoke shop wasn't random. It wasn't some drive-by. It was a statement, a carefully timed message delivered with 7 bullets in the middle of the hood. In the moment that blood hit the concrete, the whole city knew. This was personal. The location was no accident. Let's talk about where it happened. Fig in 69th, the kind of block you don't pull up to without purpose. The kind of corner where everyone knows everybody and outsiders stick out like sore thumbs. It sits deep in what used to be considered solid rolling 60s Crip territory. Right in the heart of South LA, a spot Big U once walked with impunity. And now, it's the very street where his son's body was outlined in chalk. Jabari wasn't making trouble. He pulled up to the Fig in 69 smoke spot like he probably had a dozen times before. Regular, low-key, alone. Witnesses say he parked, walked up to the store, chopped it up for a second with someone in a dark-colored sedan, maybe a Camry, maybe an Accord. Nothing seemed off until it was 11:11 p.m. The shots ring out. 7 shots. Fast, clean, controlled. Not a wild spray, not a shootout, just surgical violence. 4 of those bullets hit Jabari directly, 2 in the chest, 1 in the arm, 1 in the thigh. He dropped on the spot just feet from the shop's entrance. The sedan peeled off fast, northbound on Figueroa, then a sharp right on 68 and vanished into the maze of the hood. No plates, no tags, no panic, just silence in a body. LAFD arrives, but it's already too late. By 11:14 p.m., paramedics from Fire Station 46 were on scene. They found Jabari gasping, blood soaking through his clothes. Agonal breathing. That final desperate fight the body makes when it's already halfway gone. They pumped his chest. They hit him with epinephrine twice. They tried to bring him back, but the damage was too deep. At 11:28 p.m., Jabari Henley, Baby Huey, was pronounced dead at the scene. And within 10 minutes, the first bystanders were already uploading video. Before the blood dried, before his family even knew, before the sirens stopped ringing, the first post hit social media. That's when the chaos really started. An IG account with 30K followers posted the video with the caption, "Ain't no peace when Nip ain't got justice. Huey caught that karma." Another user followed up. "That video y'all posted yesterday, this the response." People knew exactly what this was. This wasn't street beef over money. This wasn't a bad drug deal. This wasn't mistaken identity. This was symbolic. They took out Big U's son on Halloween night just days after the footage of him, Nip, and Baby Huey resurfaced online. That wasn't coincidence. That was choreography. The autopsy report seals it. By November 2nd, the LA County Coroner's report came out. Case number 2025-04512. Confirmed 4 bullet wounds. Cause of death, hemorrhagic shock. Pulmonary artery torn. No drugs, no alcohol. Just a regular man with a 10-year-old daughter and a regular job, dead for the sin of his last name. You know what that says? Jabari didn't die because of who he was. He died because of who he came from. The streets ain't subtle anymore. Nipsey Hussle's affiliates didn't hide how they felt. Within 24 hours, their IG stories were full of Nip tributes. Clips of Big U laughing during that Justice for Nip live stream. Post saying, "Laugh now, mourn later. Bet you ain't laughing no more." That marathon's still running. Over you. Some even went so far as to remix the original footage, looping Big U's "Y'all Wanna Sign Too" Grimy with audio of gunshots. It wasn't about being subtle. It was about sending a message. You didn't answer for what happened in 2019. We just gave you something to cry about in 2025. Loose cannon speaks from the inside. And if the streets weren't loud enough, the prison got even louder. Loose cannon Big U's co-defendant, his alleged right-hand man, reportedly made a jailhouse call that night. According to sources close to the Henley family, that call included one line Big U would never forget. "This your punishment." Insiders say Big U broke down, cried for hours, didn't eat the next day, refused to leave his cell, because even he knew it wasn't just a killing. It was a message, and he finally got it. Why the streets think it's just the beginning. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Because when that footage dropped, it wasn't just nostalgia, it was the first domino. And when Jabari died, that was the second. Now the whole city's watching, because if baby Huey, an innocent father just trying to work a job and raise his kid, can get hit like that, anyone can. And everyone's asking the same thing. Who's next? By the time the sun came up on November 1, 2025, Los Angeles was awake but not mourning. No vigils, no flowers, no quiet respect for the dead. Instead, the city was buzzing. The comment sections were on fire, and the word on every corner was the same. That's karma. The internet trial begins. In the first 12 hours, hashtags exploded. Nipsey karma, Big U Judgment Day, and Baby Huey started trending nationwide. Thousands of people who never met Jabari Henley suddenly felt like they had a right to judge his death. Memes poured out faster than news articles. TikToks looped his crime scene footage with Nipsey's voice from old interviews. And everywhere you looked, people were saying the same thing in different ways, that the streets had finally balanced the scales. They didn't care about evidence. They didn't care about pain. They just wanted vengeance that felt like justice. But there was more behind this than retaliation. There was a narrative, one that had been building for years, waiting for a moment like this to erupt. The rumors resurfaced. The internet never forgets. Every old clip of Big U and Nipsey got dug back up like evidence in a cold case. There was the Instagram live where Big U laughed when someone typed justice for Nip. There was the Charleston White rant from 2024, accusing Big U of ordering hits on his own artists. There were the podcast interviews where Big U talked about discipline in the set like he was still running a military. And suddenly, people weren't asking if Big U had changed. They were asking if he had ever changed at all. Every video became proof. Every quote became confession. And every old friend who stayed silent looked guilty by association. Loose cannon's whispers turned into headlines. Inside the Metropolitan Detention Center, Loose Cannon was making moves. Already facing the same RICO charges as Big U, he started talking not in court but in whispers. Rumors spread that he told feds Big U had made calls before Nipsey's murder, that he bragged about disciplining his artists when they got too big, that he had unfinished business with the Asda Dome family. None of it was verified, but it didn't need to be. In 2025, allegations spread faster than facts. So when Baby Huey got hit just days after that old footage surfaced, the streets didn't see coincidence, they saw confirmation. The narrative becomes a sentence. The story told itself. Big U had Nipsey killed. The streets got tired of waiting for the law, so they hit Big U where it hurts, his bloodline. That's how people were talking on social media. That's how it spread through barbershops and street corners. Truth didn't matter, only revenge did. And Big U's silence from behind bars, it sounded a lot like guilt. The fall of a street king. Back in 2009, Big U was the man. Every rapper coming up wanted his call sign. Every label in LA feared his power. Politicians called him when they wanted peace on the streets. He was untouchable, respected, feared. But power in LA is like gasoline. It burns bright, then it explodes. By 2025, Big U's empire was gone. His nonprofit was under investigation for money laundering. His RICO trial was set for spring 2026. And now, his family was in tatters. Even his own people inside the feds were turning their backs. The street code flips. In LA, there's a rule that goes deeper than law. You don't let your name carry more weight than the set. Nipsey broke that rule by becoming bigger than the streets. Big U broke it by trying to control him. And now the streets were doing what they always do. When someone forgets the code, they rewrite it with blood. Baby Huey's death wasn't random. It was a reminder. You can't play God and then cry when the angels turn on you. Big U behind bars. In that cold cell, Big U finally ran out of moves. No more connections. No more alliances. No more press runs or Instagram lives to spin the story. Just a father with a Bible in his hands and a guilt he can't wash off. Guards say he stopped talking for days after he heard the news. Didn't eat, didn't sleep. Just sat on his bunk mumbling, "Not my boy, not like this." He once said he wanted to leave a legacy of peace. Now his legacy is written in headlines and hashtags. The public turns cold. Even mainstream media started catching on. What used to be a story about gang reform and community work turned into a crime saga. TMZ rolling out Hip Hop DX. They all ran with it. Big U facing life in federal prison after son's murder ignites street backlash. Was this karma for Nipsey Hussle? LA divided over tragedy. Every headline cut deeper than the last. And for the first time since the 2000s, Big U had no sympathy. No one came to his defense. No one called him a community leader. No one remembered his peace marches or youth programs. The streets had spoken, and when the streets turn on you, there ain't no coming back. Karma or coincidence? Was Baby UA's murder really revenge for Nipsey? Was it karma, a message from the universe, or just another tragic LA hit? Nobody knows for sure, but the timing, the footage, the mockery, it all feels too synchronized to ignore. In a city where retribution is currency, nobody believes in accidents. So when that clip of Big U saying, "Y'all want to sign to Grammy," started playing over gunshot sounds and TikTok edits, people called it poetic justice. Cruel, but poetic. The collapse is complete. By the first week of November, Big U was a ghost in his own city. His name was radioactive. His alliances were broken. His legacy was ashes. And all it took was 1 minute of footage and 7 bullets to erase everything he built. The streets that once bowed to him now mocked him. The same corners that once protected him now played his failure on loop. From Crenshaw to Inglewood, from barbershops to Twitter threads, the message was clear. Big U thought he could control the streets, but the streets just controlled his fate. And that's the real lesson hidden inside all this madness. No matter how much money, power, or respect you got, the streets don't owe you forgiveness. They owe you karma. The smoke hasn't cleared. It's just settled heavy, choking, lingering over South Central like a curse that refuses to lift. And in that smoke, everything looks different. Big U is no longer a power broker. The streets that once feared him, they're celebrating his downfall. In LA is watching some with satisfaction, some with dread. Because when karma hits this hard, the aftershocks don't stop at the first body. The question now isn't what happened, it's what's coming next. The federal hammer is coming. Let's start with the legal side. Big U's RICO case, US v. Henley et al., is no longer just a quiet indictment buried in court files. Since the Halloween night hit on Baby Huey, the feds have turned up the pressure. New surveillance footage is in play. Phone calls from jail have been subpoenaed. In loose cannon, he's allegedly taking meetings with federal prosecutors, not for a plea deal, but to testify. According to insider sources, prosecutors are now treating Baby Huey's murder as a potential retaliatory act tied to ongoing criminal enterprise conflicts. In plain English, they think the streets killed Baby Huey to get at Big U, which means the feds now have motive, public sentiment, and a body count tied directly to Big U's past. Even if he didn't pull the trigger, even if he didn't make the call, they're going to paint the picture that his empire set all this in motion. And that's exactly how RICO works. Big U's legacy is unsalvageable. There was a time when Big U could pivot, when the bad press didn't stick, when he could walk into a room and flip the narrative. Not anymore. The streets don't just want answers, they want erasure. Nobody's calling him an OG now. Nobody's asking for peace talk. Nobody's saying free the homie. Even his former allies, artists, activists, executives are going silent. They are archiving posts, deleting photos, pretending he was never part of their journey. Because now, Big U is toxic. He's become the cautionary tale, the guy who got too big, too greedy, too out of touch, and paid the ultimate price. And the worst part, he wasn't the one who paid it. His son did. What's left of the Henley family. The Henley name used to carry weight in Crenshaw. Now it carries pity. Baby Huey's daughter is fatherless. His mother hasn't spoken to the press. His siblings have deleted their socials. And sources say the family is considering leaving LA entirely. Why? Because retaliation doesn't have expiration dates. If one side believes this war is spiritual, that is justice for Nipsey, ordained by karma, then it doesn't stop with one body. It continues, in whispers, in bullets, in more footage. And the Henleys know that. They're grieving and they're preparing. The streets aren't done yet. There's a phrase floating around now on the same streets Big U once walked freely. UA was the beginning, not the end. It's chilling because it means the streets aren't just reacting, they're strategizing. You're seeing new alliances form. Sets that used to be rivals sharing turf. Old enemies now bonding over one shared mission to end everything Big U built brick by brick, legacy by legacy. They're already talking about other reminders, other sons, other business partners, other names. It's not a war anymore, it's a cleansing. And in South Central, those don't end with just one body. The marathon continues without forgiveness. Nipsey Hussle's people haven't said much publicly, but their silence is loud. They didn't post RIPs for Baby Huey. They didn't offer condolences. They didn't even pretend to be sad. Instead, they posted clips of Nip's old interviews. They played Blue Laces too. They captioned old photos with, "We never needed revenge. The universe handles that." And if you look closer, you'll see some of them smiling. Not because a man died, but because their pain was finally acknowledged, because for the first time in years, someone paid a price that felt equal. Forgiveness? That left when Nipsey did, and the streets have made it clear. This isn't about closure, it's about balance. Where does it end? That's the question hanging over all of LA. Where does this story actually end? Does it end with Big U rotting in a cell watching his empire collapse from the inside? Does it end with more blood, more sons, more legacies destroyed? Or does it just fade into the next chapter of street mythology? Whatever the answer is, one thing is certain: nobody wins. Not Nipsey, not Baby U, not Big U. The marathon continues, but the cost keeps climbing. The footage was less than a minute. Just 58 seconds of grainy throwback vibes from a Crenshaw corner. No gunplay, no argument, no threats. Just 3 men posted up: Big U, Nipsey Hussle, and Jabari Baby Huey Henley, smiling, laughing, speaking life into the hood. And yet, that 58 seconds may go down as one of the most tragic pieces of street footage in LA history, because within days of it resurfacing, 1 man was dead, 1 man was locked down for life, and 1 had already been buried 6 feet deep years ago. Let that sink in. A moment meant to inspire became the match that lit a fire. That clip was supposed to be nostalgic, a reminder of better days, a memory for the people who knew the work Nipsey put in, the path Jabari tried to carve, and the empire Big U was once trying to build. But the streets don't process nostalgia the way the rest of the world does. They don't say, damn, look how far we've come. They say, look who needs to be held accountable. They say, who's still walking around that shouldn't be. And when grief mixes with loyalty, when conspiracy marries trauma, and when reputation outweighs facts, even a throwback can become a weapon. That's exactly what happened here. That clip didn't revive peace. It revived pain. It unearthed suspicion. It forced people to relive an unresolved betrayal. In LA, it's still burning from the heat it reignited. We watched a son die for the sins of his father. Let's call it what it is. Jabari, Baby Huey Henley, wasn't a gang leader, wasn't in the music industry, wasn't claiming blocks or throwing signs. He was a 34-year-old warehouse supervisor, a father to a 10-year-old daughter, and by all accounts, a man trying to live clean. But the streets didn't see a civilian. They saw Big U seed. And when the conspiracy theories tied Big U to Nipsey's murder wouldn't die, the retaliation eventually had to find someone. That someone was Jabari. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong last name. But the streets don't care about that. Because in their eyes, if you carry the blood of the man they say betrayed a king, you carry the debt too. And no matter how clean you keep your hands, somebody still comes to collect. What the internet did was worse than the bullet. You want to know what's sicker than murder? The reaction. Jabari's body hadn't even cooled before the meme started. The hashtags karma for Nip, Big US payback were trending in hours. People celebrated. They turned a 34-year-old father's assassination into content. They replayed the crime scene like it was a punchline. They doxed his family. They speculated on who shot him like it was an episode of Power. Even Nipsey's own fan pages, accounts meant to preserve a legacy of peace, growth, and elevation, were reposting clips of a dead man on the ground as if that was the final chapter Nip would have wanted. Let's be clear, Nipsey Hussle never glorified death. He never championed revenge. He talked about ownership, healing, and building generational wealth so our kids wouldn't have to die over beef they didn't start. And yet, the same people who screamed the marathon continues every March 31st were the first ones laughing at Jabari's murder like it meant something had been won. But no race is won when another young father ends up in a body bag. That's not marathon energy. That's just more trauma recycled. What LA must learn. This story is not just about Big U. It's not just about Baby U or even Nipsey. It's about what happens when communities let conspiracy become currency. It's about what happens when you assign guilt by association, when we celebrate retaliation like it's restoration, when a man can't even outlive his own past because the internet won't let it die. The streets need healing, but that healing doesn't start with more bodies. It starts with truth, with nuance, with accountability that isn't based on rumors and Instagram lives from 2018. It starts with separating what's real from what's just retweeted. Because if LA doesn't start separating pain from punishment, we'll keep losing sons who were never even soldiers, and that's not justice. That's genocide by another name. Final words. Big U may die in prison. Nipsey already died in the streets. And Baby Huey died at the intersection of legacy and vengeance. But the one thing that can live on? The lesson. So here it is, loud and clear. Your last name shouldn't be a death sentence. Your past shouldn't bury your future. And your pain shouldn't become someone else's entertainment. The marathon isn't just about endurance, it's about evolution. So maybe now, after all this, it's time we stop running in circles and start running forward.